All right, it's that time of year again to carve a pumpkin, but with a laser. It's the third time we've done this. First year we did Jack Skellington, and the second year we did Spider-Man. And this year we're gonna go on topic and go with Beetlejuice. When carving a pumpkin it gets messy and I don't wanna cut myself, so I use gloves. And another thing is I'll have to put some butcher's paper down so I don't get the mess all over my workshop. Before all that, let's hear a message from our sponsor. Jokes, don't have one. Let's just jump straight to it. All right, first thing we need to do is mark out a circle on the top, and I like to do it neatly, so I just grab some tape, it's a nice circle, and mark around. I also used a whiteboard marker so the line rubs out. Yep, that gives me a nice circle to cut with. This is where it gets messy. I'm gonna grab the gloves. I'm just gonna work around neatly. This actually takes a bit of time. I just sort of press around. See, I'm creating an angle, so when you lift the lid off, it just sits nicely and doesn't just fall through. Gotta lock the knife off. I've cut myself countless times with these knives. I use them every day, but when you do things late at night or you're distracted, like making a video, you cut yourself, which let's hope I don't do now. I got an ugly one because all you need is one good surface. Don't cut towards yourself, children. And we're nearly there. I've just found spoons work the best. Now, you're probably wondering, whilst I'm scooping this out, I'm gonna tell you why an Australian is doing a jack-o'-lantern. Well, I grew up in the States and Halloween was a massive thing for me. So when we came back, I wanted to do it, but no one did it here. Great thing is I have kids now and Halloween's actually picked up here. And most of our street and neighborhood do it now. So carving a jack-o'-lantern is now commonplace for people in Australia. Now, there's probably much better ways to do it than I'm doing it, but that's for you to tell me in the comments. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a really funny pumpkin one with it vomiting out the insides. I thought that was a pretty good one. And then another really cool one I've seen is that check engine light one. So this one actually is pretty empty, so just gonna scrape the rest of it out. It's so stringy, pumpkins. The thinner the wall, the better it is to carve. I was thinking about getting the jigsaw out and cutting it that way, but I forgot about it and I just did it with a blade. Should I go plant some of these pumpkin seeds in the backyard? Grow my own for next year? Comment down below a good video. Probably have to dry the seeds out, do all sorts of stuff, just planting them. Probably won't work. Not the greenest thumb, but I'm better at keeping plants alive than my wife. If you buy her a plant, she'll kill it. Now, if I lived in a cooler climate, I wouldn't be too fussed about this, but it's coming into summer in Australia. Daylight savings has happened. It doesn't get dark until 8 o'clock and it can get quite hot. Last two pumpkins have shriveled up in a day or two. Someone told me a little tip that might help the pumpkins last a bit longer outside, so we're gonna give that a try once we finish making it. All right, that'll do. I'm gonna get a cloth, I'm gonna wipe it down and throw out all this goop. Got a perfect circle, I just can't figure out which way it goes. There we go, look at that, fits perfect. Now I've hollowed it out. Now, one issue I have to laser cut is it's too big to fit under the laser head. Also, it's hard to balance. If I cut it in half, I get a flat surface that's easy to laser. The only thing is putting it back together. First year I used toothpicks all around. Second year I tried stapling it, which worked, but this year I thought would go well with the Beetlejuice theme is I'm gonna use a needle and thread and sew it back together after the fact. I'm gonna mark the lines neatly by laser cutting the marks on a piece of tape and then marking the lines and then just stitching it together, but we'll do that after we do the etching. Just cutting the pumpkin in half now so we can fit it under the laser, and I'm just using a kitchen knife because it is food after all. Well, it's supposed to be. Here we're at the fiber laser. I always etch onto a piece of scrap material just to see the size, even though I've measured it, just to check it's all right, and to help align the pumpkin. Just place the pumpkin onto where I think it fits. I need to measure the depth of half the pumpkin so that I can offset the fiber laser because it needs to be at the right focal length to etch properly. Here we're doing a quick time-lapse pass. The first layer is not really impressive, but you're starting to get an idea of what it looks like. Now, first mistake is I probably etched a little bit too high. I could have put a little bit lower, get a bit more of a flat surface. Next mistake I made, I got too eager here and I put this big light to see if I could see through. It only done 2 passes, too eager, slightly bumped it, and I was worried I stuffed it, but luckily I didn't. So probably overall did about 15 passes. You'll see how deep it is at the very end. And to get an idea of how it will look when it's finished, I get a smaller light, which I tried to do with a bigger light before, and I put it underneath. And here's a shot of it nearly finished, and you can see how it looks. With the light on, you can see how deep the cut is. You can see the lasers cut away all the skin, making the flesh much more transparent and light up easier than the skin, which gives a good effect. Now I'm just putting a piece of masking tape here on a piece of scrap material. I'm just going to cut those dots I talked about so I can mark out the pumpkin to sew it together. This is just done on a CO2 laser. Just running the masking tape along the bottom and just running a whiteboard marker over the holes and then removing the tape, leaving where I'm going to stitch the pumpkin together. Before I start sewing, I'm going to use some WD-40, which was the tip I got. Don't know if it'll work, but it's supposed to stop it from rotting quickly, so I thought I'd just coat the pumpkin in that before I put it together. Now it's definitely not edible. I'm sure one of its 1,000 uses isn't for cooking seasoning. And we'll just place the pumpkin back together and we'll start sewing it. This proved much more time consuming than I had thought. It was quite hard to pierce the pumpkin. I actually had to get a pair of pliers and pre-punch holes before sewing it because I didn't actually know where to sew from the back, so I had to pre-place a hole and then thread the needle back through on itself. But I got quick at this. The first side was slow, but it sped up quickly. And yes, it is stupid in hindsight, but in the hot weather here, the pumpkins were falling apart very quickly. And I can't see them falling apart now they're sewed together. And stitching's in the theme of Halloween, I feel. So I think it looks good aesthetically. Here's the last inside shots before we go light some candles and see how it looks outside. Could use a lighter, but love matches, so I thought I'd go old school. I was absolutely getting shredded by mosquitoes whilst doing this. I should have used citronella candles. I'm really happy with how it turned out. Looks great. Can't wait for the kids to see it tomorrow for Halloween. Now just turn the back porch light on and really see it glow in the dark. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you liked it. If you did, subscribe or just check out my other 2 pumpkin videos in shorts. See you in the next one.